I am with the Kittitas Valley Math Circle Agency to help you in your journey of becoming a junior level code cracker. We have a message to decode from our Kittitas Valley Math Circle Agency associate. The decryption process is much like the encryption process, except the steps are done in a backwards order. The message we are decrypting is a message made using a Playfair cipher. So to start, we have to work backwards from the encryption video. Let's do an example. So here we have F and D. So if we look for F, we see F is here and D is here. And so they are not in the same column and they are not in the same row. So our other option is to create a rectangle. So creating a rectangle from F to D and back to F, we see that for F, the letter on the opposite horizontal end of the rectangle is I. So for F, we must replace F with I. For D, the letter on the opposite horizontal end is A. So we must replace D with A. Now, moving on to the second pair, we have P, S. So we see P is here and we see S is here. And they are not in the same row and they're not in the same column. So we must create a rectangle. So from P, we create a rectangle to S and back to P. So on the horizontal end of P, we have N. So we replace P with N. For the opposite horizontal end of S, we see that we have the letter U. So we replace our S with U. Moving on to our second pair of letters, we have B and Q. We see that our letter B is right here and our letter Q is down here. And they're not in the same row or column, so once again, we must create a rectangle. So from B, we move down to Q, back up to B. So this is our rectangle here. On the horizontal opposite end of B, we have the letter A. So we must replace our letter B with the letter A. On the opposite horizontal end of Q, we have the letter R. So we must replace our letter Q with the letter R. Now we look at the letter Z and Y. So we have Z and we have Y. So we see that they are in the same row. So Z must be replaced with the letter to the left of it, which in this case is the letter Y. And then for Y, it's the letter X. So we have a message that says, I-annuary. So from our rules, we know that anytime we see a letter I, it's going to be either the letter I or the letter J. I does not make sense. So we will try the letter J and see if that helps. And I will rewrite the word, the message, and it looks like we have something that makes more sense, but we have a letter X at the end of our message. And from our rules, we know that we must remove the letter X at the end of a message. And so we'll remove the letter X, and now we have this message. And then combining letters, combining pairs of letters, it looks like we have one of the months of our year. And that message looks like it says January. It looks like we have decrypted our message. Yay! It's January. Now we will try to decrypt another message from our KVMC associate. So here we see that we have the letter DB. So looking for D, we see that D is here and we see that B is here. These are in the same row. And working backwards from our encryption video, for the letter D, we must take the letter that is to the left of the letter D, which in this case is the letter C. So our letter D must be replaced with the letter C. For the letter B, we will take the letter to the left, which in this case is the letter A. So our B will be replaced with the letter A. Now we're looking at the pair SY. We see that our letter S is here and our letter Y is here. These letters are not in the same row or column, so we must create a rectangle around the two letters. So starting at the letter S, we work our way down to the letter Y, and we have a rectangle, in this case a square. We will take the letter to the horizontal opposite end of the letter S, which in this case is the letter T. So we replace our letter S with the letter T. In the case of the letter Y, the letter on the horizontal opposite end is going to be our letter X. So we replace our letter Y with our letter X. Now we look at our another pair, which is Q and O. So we look for the letter Q, which is here. We look for the letter O, which is here. We notice that they are not in the same row or in the same column. So we must create a rectangle around the letter Q and O. So this is our rectangle. On the horizontal opposite end of the letter Q, we have the letter T. So we replace our letter Q with the letter T. For the letter O, the letter on the horizontal opposite end is the letter L. So we replace our letter O with the letter L. Moving on to our second pair of letters, we have the letter C and Z. So we look for our letter C, we see that it's located here, and we look for our letter Z, which is located down here, and we notice that they are not in the same row or in the same column, so we must create a rectangle around our letter C and our letter Z. For our letter C, the letter on the horizontal opposite end is our letter E. So for our C, we replace it with the letter E. For the letter Z, the letter on the horizontal opposite end is our letter X. So we replaced our letter Z with the letter X. Now we have a message. And so thinking back to our rules for decryption, one of our rules is that if we have an X between two letters that are the same, we must remove the letter X. In our situation, we notice that we have two letters that are the same and there is an X between those letters. So in this case, we have two T's with the letter X in between. So we must take this letter X out. And rewriting our message, we see that we have this with the letter X removed. And then we notice that we also have another X. And from our encryption rules, which are now backwards, we know that our decryption rule states that if we have an X at the end of our message, we must remove that letter X. In our case, we have a letter X at the end of our message, so we will eliminate it. Now, combining some of these letters and applying our guesswork, we will come up with a possible message. I will combine all of the letters to see if I am able to understand the message our KVMC associate has provided us. So from combining our letters remaining, once we have removed the X's, I see that we have a message that says cattle. And we know that that is a word. So our message must be cattle. Good job, junior level code cracker. You have learned to decrypt the code. Keep practicing and you will be ready to level up. We hope to work with you again on future codes. See you soon. Bye.